This is your news source evening bulletin for today, Thursday, the 4th day of February in the year 2021. I'm Gordon Mosley. Here's what we're tracking tonight. Less than 24 hours after an agreement between Guyana and Taiwan for the establishment of a Taiwanese trade office in Guyana was made public by the U.S. government, the government of Guyana has made a complete backtrack and has terminated that agreement. In a statement from the Ministry of Foreign Affairs this afternoon, the Guyana government insisted that it has not established any diplomatic ties or relations with Taiwan, and as a result of what it called a miscommunication of the agreement signed, the agreement has since been terminated. Additionally, the government stated that it wants to clarify that it continues to adhere to the One China policy, and its diplomatic relations remain intact with the People's Republic of China. China views Taiwan as a breakaway province. The about-turn statement from the Ministry of Foreign Affairs came just hours the Minister of Foreign Affairs, Hugh Todd, and other foreign ministry officials defended the move to establish a Taiwan trade office in Guyana. News source understands that the government might have come under some pressure from the Chinese government over the move. The announcement of the agreement between Guyana and Taiwan was announced by the U.S. government in a tweet last evening. The U.S. government welcomed the move. The Taiwanese government issued a statement of its own embracing the agreement, with a foreign ministry spokesman in Taiwan even holding up a map of Guyana as she explained the agreement to the Taiwanese media. The agreement was reportedly signed since mid-January, but was never made public by the Guyana government. Once the agreement was announced last night by the U.S. administration and the local U.S. embassy, concerns started to mount among the diplomatic circles about China's possible response. China and Guyana have been sharing diplomatic ties for over 45 years, and China has been making major investments in Guyana and has supported Guyana over the years through various loan and grant agreements for infrastructural and other development. More news coming up in just a moment.
This is Annie Bina. She's a clothing designer. She also likes to hang out with her friends. However, a life-changing event is about to occur. The mosquito that bit Annie Bina is infected with a tiny worm that causes lymphatic filariasis, also known as Filaria. But what is Filaria? Filaria is a disease that affects a person's lymphatic system, causing legs, arms, breast, or scrotum to swell and eventually remain in a swollen state that cannot go back to normal. Filaria shows no symptoms during the early years. Untreatable chronic symptoms can appear as late as 20 years after infection. Since there are no symptoms in the beginning, most infected persons do not know they're infected, like Annie Bina. When the symptoms begin to appear, nothing will be able to make them disappear. Are you sure that you've not been infected like Annie Bina? What can you do then, since you see no symptoms? Take your pills. Prevention is the best cure. A message from the Ministry of Health in collaboration with PAHO WHO.
Mobile Special and all other mobile lubricants are distributed by Salt Guyana Inc. Mobile Special and all other mobile lubricants are distributed by Salt Guyana Inc.
Mom, what are you doing with GPL on your list?
Child, you forgot I have to pay GPL?
You got time with GPL?
I have to keep these lights on. The customers who think in that manner and refuse to honor their obligation to GPL are obviously not playing their part in ensuring quality service delivery. So, I will continue to pay my GPL bill on time, every time.
I recognize the value of your point, Mom. You were right.
This is Annie Bina. She's a clothing designer. She also likes to hang out with her friends. However, a life-changing event is about to occur. The mosquito that bit Annie Bina is infected with a tiny worm that causes lymphatic filariasis, also known as filaria. But what is filaria? Filaria is a disease that affects a person's lymphatic system, causing legs, arms, breasts, or scrotum to swell and eventually remain in a swollen state that cannot go back to normal. Filaria shows no symptoms during the early years. Untreatable chronic symptoms can appear as late as 20 years after infection. Since there are no symptoms in the beginning, most infected persons do not know they're infected, like Annie Bina. When the symptoms begin to appear, nothing will be able to make them disappear. Are you sure that you've not been infected like Annie Bina? What can you do then since you see no symptoms? Take your pills. Prevention is the best cure. A message from the Ministry of Health in collaboration with PAHO WHO.
GBTI is your Guyanese bank, a bank that understands every customer's unique needs, opportunities, challenges, and financial concerns. At GBTI, we see you for you. Whether you're buying a new home or car, planning your next vacation or retirement, saving for your child's future, or whether you're ready to take that bold step of investing in your dream business idea, we are with you every step of the way. We hear your stories and watch you focus on your dreams as we share your aspirations. We are more than just banking. We are a family. We are part of your community. Our commitment extends way beyond the walls of our branches and is demonstrated every day in the opportunities we provide to our individual and business customers. The support, time, and commitment we give back to communities across Guyana to help improve the lives of our Guyanese families. Because we see Guyana through your eyes.
Fuel it up and drive, Super 95. Tune up. Fuel it up and drive, Super 95. Tune up. Protect your fuel system, boy. High mileage and performance, boy.
Guy Super 95 gasoline gives you more reasons to drive and is available at 56 service stations nationwide. For affordable price, high performance, and high mileage, choose Guyo's Super 95 gasoline.
Fuel it up and drive.
Mobil Special and all other Mobil lubricants are distributed by Salt Guyana Inc. Mobil Special and all other Mobil lubricants are distributed by Salt Guyana Inc. Welcome back. The opposition APNU-AFC coalition this afternoon assailed the Guyana government over the signing of the now terminated agreement with Taiwan to establish a Taiwanese trade office in Guyana. In a statement, the coalition noted the termination of the agreement less than 24 hours after it was announced by the U.S. government, describing the Guyana government's decision to enter into the agreement in the first place as reckless and dangerous. Opposition leader Joe Harmon.
Now, less than 24 hours after that, we are learning that they have withdrawn that permission. What it goes to show is that the state of confusion in which our foreign policy is. We all know that we have always embraced the one China policy. That is to say that China, Taiwan is one entity. And our relationship with the People's Republic of China from since 1972 until now has been a strong one, which has inured to the benefit of the Guyanese people.
In its termination of the agreement today, the PP Civic government said it remains committed to the long-standing One China policy, which Guyana has observed for decades under various governments. The APNU-AFC said still by its actions, the PP Civic has clearly departed from Guyana's unwavering adherence to the One China policy and demonstrated that it is willing to alienate and ostracize Guyana in the community of nations and from long-standing friends and allies.
And so this obvious reversal of an age-old relationship by courting the Taiwanese is certainly a dangerous practice. And we want to look very carefully at that, to see all of these, what I call foreign policy drifts, which this administration is engaged in. And it seems as if they are under the direction of some entity that's outside of Guyana that's inimical to the best interests of the Guyanese people. So we are basically insisting that the government shuts down all of these connections. I'm not sure whether the minister's saying that they have actually closed it down, that will be enough. We will be looking to see whether there are still elements that are here that are pursuing that policy, which is inimical to the best interests of the Guyanese people.
The coalition also said Guyana's foreign policy must continue to be founded on the basis of mutual respect and understanding, non-interference, multilateralism, and strong relations with all states. It said that PPP must abandon what it called its ill-advised isolationist foreign policy. The coalition said it remains committed to the One China policy and the strong decades-old relations with the people and government of China. The coalition also expressed regret to the People's Republic of China for what it said was an irrational and impetuous act by the Guyana government. 2 more coronavirus-related deaths were recorded today, according to the Ministry of Health. The 2 latest victims have been identified as a 73-year-old man from the Barima-Waini region, that's Region 1, and a 54-year-old man from Region 4. The death toll has now reached 179. The Ministry of Health also reported today that the country has recorded 66 new cases of the virus, pushing the number of active cases to 772. With 710 of those persons in home isolation. Today in the National Assembly, while facing questions from the opposition, Minister of Health Dr. Frank Anthony revealed that Guyana will be getting additional COVID-19 vaccines through an arrangement with CARICOM and the African Union. Guyana is already set to receive just over 100,000 vaccines through the COVAX initiative. Through the CARICOM African Union arrangement, Guyana is expected to receive 149,000 vaccines.
In addition to the COVAX arrangement that I spoke about earlier, we are in a number of bilateral talks with various countries, including not only China, but Russia, India, to ensure that we can have more than that 20% for this year. And we are also talking to a number of multilateral agencies through which we think we would be able to acquire vaccine. One such multilateral agency is CARICOM has brokered an arrangement with the African Union, and they have set aside 1.5 million doses of vaccines for the Caribbean. And out of that allotment, Guyana's quota is going to be 149,000 doses.
Frontline health workers and the elderly will be among the first group of persons to be given the vaccines. Speaker of the National Assembly Mansour Nadir is not happy with some of the criticism that have been leveled against him by opposition members, and he's now threatening that if the criticisms continue, he would push for the offending members to be sent to the Committee of Privileges. Nadir has been accused of being biased in many of his rulings in favor of the governing PPP Civic. He served as a minister in the previous PPP Civic government. In a statement to the National Assembly at the start of today's sitting, the Speaker said he will not allow any level of criticism to be made orally. He said if there are criticisms against him, those criticisms should be made in the form of a motion.
At the second sitting of this Assembly, I had cause to raise the issue of criticizing the Speaker's decision and accusing the Speaker of bias. One of the best known rules, and I'm quoting from a document that the Honorable Speaker Scotland had used prior, and I used earlier, and I quote again, one of the best known rules of parliamentary procedure, which should be familiar to all parliamentarians worldwide, is that the conduct of the Speaker cannot be criticized except by way of a substantive motion.
Mr. Nadir also said he will not be intimidated by any statement being made against his character.
I am neither anyone's little boy, nor am I intimidated by front yard or backyard bullies. Any occurrences or reoccurrences of the breaches of the standing orders, I will have to ask a minister to move a motion, and that is in Standing Order 473, to refer the errant member or members to the Committee of Privileges. Thank you.
The Speaker has singled out Opposition Leader Joe Harmon and Opposition member Sherrod Duncan for making statements about his rulings and accusing him of being biased during television programs and online programs. Guyana joined the rest of the world in observing World Cancer Day today. And in observance of the day, the Guyana Telephone and Telegraph Company announced the allocation of $4 million from its ongoing Pinktober Fund to go towards the diagnostic testing and treatment of cancer patients in Guyana. This year, the Global Village is called upon to speak up, stand up, and take action together in commemoration of World Cancer Day, GTT said. The company said that GTT gave it as a direct response to the rallying call. GTT's Pinktober coordinator Diana Gittins explained that the Cancer Institute of Guyana will provide a treatment, while the oncology unit of the Georgetown Hospital will identify patients to access the services as they have done in the past. Last year, the company collaborated with the Institute to offer similar services, which resulted in 20 patients being able to access treatment and diagnostic testing in Linden, Bartica, East Bank, West Coast, East Coast, and West Bank of Demerara. Gittins highlighted that of the 20 patients, 55% completed CT scans for diagnostic purposes, while 70% accessed radiation treatment. Of those who benefited, 50% were diagnosed with breast cancer, while 45% were diagnosed with cervical cancer. Education Minister Priya Manik Chand has announced that based on the advice of the Ministry of Health, schools across Guyana will remain closed. However, students in grades 10, 11, and 12 will continue classes for their CSEC and CAPE examinations. In a statement on the Education Ministry's Facebook page, the Education Minister said the Health Ministry has advised that schools cannot be reopened for the other grades at this time. Meanwhile, no date has been set for this year's Common Entrance examinations. The Education Minister said the exams will not be held in March or April, as they have been held in the past, but no new date has been determined as yet. She said it is likely that the Common Entrance exams will take place closer to July and August. Whenever the exams are administered, they will be done like previous exams, with students having to write a Paper 1 and Paper 2 for each of the 4 subjects offered at the National Grade 6 assessment level. The Education Ministry over the past few months has hosted a number of virtual consultations with parents and teachers on the structure of the exams. Manik Chand said the most popular option among stakeholders is for the students to write the Paper 1 and 2, with work mostly drawn up from up to grade 5.
This is Annie Bina. She's a clothing designer. She also likes to hang out with her friends. However, a life-changing event is about to occur. The mosquito that bit Annie Bina is infected with a tiny worm that causes lymphatic filariasis, also known as Filaria. But what is Filaria? Filaria is a disease that affects a person's lymphatic system, causing legs, arms, breast, or scrotum to swell and eventually remain in a swollen state that cannot go back to normal. Filaria shows no symptoms during the early years. Untreatable chronic symptoms can appear as late as 20 years after infection. Since there are no symptoms in the beginning, most infected persons do not know they're infected, like Annie Bina. When the symptoms begin to appear, nothing will be able to make them disappear. Are you sure that you've not been infected like Annie Bina? What can you do then, since you see no symptoms? Take your pills. Prevention is the best cure. A message from the Ministry of Health in collaboration with PAHO WHO.
Mobile Delvac and all other mobile lubricants are distributed by Salt Guyana Inc. Mobile Delvac and all other mobile lubricants are distributed by Salt Guyana Inc.
to the impacts of the global pandemic, COVID-19, across our nation, essential organizations like us have chosen to adopt innovative approaches to meet the emerging needs of our customers while protecting our employees. Here are some quick tips to make managing your GPL bill easier while we practice social distancing. To register for electronic billing, you can use the e-billing tab on your website. To access your bill balance, you can use 4 options: the website live chat at gpl.net, the online inquiry on our website under billing, SMS Freedom by texting your GPL reference number to 624-0400 or 608-8400, or call our call center at 226-2600. A message from the Guyana Power and Light Incorporated.
We are legions of men standing strong, but never too proud to stoop and help someone. We must send a clear signal to all. Do right, walk in upright ways, knowing that's what being a man is all about. And ever aware that things will only get worse when good men do nothing. Stand strong. Be the one to live right.
Mobil Delvac and all other mobile lubricants are distributed by Salt Guyana Inc. Mobil Delvac and all other mobile lubricants are distributed by Salt Guyana Inc.
This is Annie Bina. She's a clothing designer. She also likes to hang out with her friends. However, a life-changing event is about to occur. The mosquito that bit Annie Bina is infected with a tiny worm that causes lymphatic filariasis, also known as Filaria. But what is Filaria? Filaria is a disease that affects a person's lymphatic system, causing legs, arms, breast, or scrotum to swell and eventually remain in a swollen state that cannot go back to normal. Filaria shows no symptoms during the early years. Untreatable chronic symptoms can appear as late as 20 years after infection. Since there are no symptoms in the beginning, most infected persons do not know they're infected, like Annie Bina. When the symptoms begin to appear, nothing will be able to make them disappear. Are you sure that you've not been infected like Annie Bina? What can you do then, since you see no symptoms? Take your pills. Prevention is the best cure. A message from the Ministry of Health in collaboration with PAHO WHO.
Across the region right now, the Biden administration in the U.S. has reaffirmed U.S. recognition of opposition leader in Venezuela, Juan Guaido, as that country's legitimate president, and has ruled out negotiations anytime soon with President Nicolas Maduro, branding him a dictator and calling for free and fair elections. In the most extensive explanation of President Joe Biden's Venezuelan policy since he took office, the State Department said that one of the main thrusts would be targeting regime officials and their cronies involved in corruption and human rights abuses. This suggests that a new U.S. administration could stick to former President Donald Trump's sanctions campaign in some form, despite its failure to force Maduro from power. The State Department made no mention of the crippling oil sanctions that Trump imposed on the OPEC nation. Seeking to draw contrast to Trump's sometimes go-it-alone approach on Venezuela, an official of the State Department told reporters that the new administration would collaborate more with a number of allies and partners to bring about progress towards democracy in Venezuela. In Jamaica, the private sector organization of Jamaica is piling pressure on the government and the opposition to fast-track the passage of Enhanced Security Measures Act amid renewed anxiety about violent crime, particularly murders. In a landmark decision last year, the Supreme Court ruled as unconstitutional the months-long detention of 5 men without charge, dooming the Holness administration's much-touted plans to use states of emergency as a long-term crime-fighting measure. Drafting of the Enhanced Security Measures legislation is expected to be completed by March, when the financial year comes to an end. Passage of the law will not become effective until sometime in the fiscal year 2021-2022, ultimately missing the March 2021 deliverable date set out in a 7-page national consensus on crime agreement, which was signed off by the government and the opposition in 2019. The heightened pressure on the Jamaican government and the opposition to fast-track the legislation comes against a new report on Latin America and the Caribbean that revealed that Jamaica now has the region's highest homicide rate of 46.5 per 100,000 people. There have been more than 140 murders in Jamaica so far for this year. And finally tonight, international news. Canada has defended its decision to draw on a supply of coronavirus vaccines from a global inoculation sharing initiative known as COVAX. COVAX pools funds from wealthier countries to help buy vaccines for themselves and low-income nations. The scheme has announced a plan to deliver more than 330 million vaccine doses in the first half of this year. Canada is the only member of the G7 group of rich countries listed as a COVAX beneficiary at this stage. Other wealthier countries, including New Zealand and Singapore, have requested an early allocation as well. Most of the first doses available, though, will be delivered to low and middle income countries. Many of those countries haven't even started vaccinations. Meanwhile, Canada has vaccinated more than 2% of its population with one dose, including 48% of health workers, government data shows. Aside from COVAX, agreements for 398 million doses of vaccines have been struck by the Canadian government, more than enough to cover the country's population of 37 million. And that's your News Source Evening Bulletin for tonight. I'm Gordon Mosley, reporting.